Good morning and welcome to this week's The Resilient Show, half an hour early. The Resilient Show on Arrow FM 92.7 in the Wairarapa and on www.arrowfm.co.nz, wherever you are, or on planet Earth or off planet Earth for that matter. And that's one of the subjects we're going to cover today. But welcome, and you may have noticed that I'm a little bit calmer this morning because I realised that we are half an hour early. I know. We have got a full 90-minute show today because 60 minutes just wasn't enough. It was all a little bit rushed, wasn't it? And I felt that, do you know what? Some of the people that we were interviewing on this show deserve longer. They deserve more time to actually talk about whatever their subject is, and we have got some very, very exciting guests today. First up, we have got Killian Hearns, who is... how to describe Killian? Well, he's got his own business called Results Coaching. He's a leadership coach. He's a qualified psychologist, I think. He's done Ironman. So we're going to be talking to Killian. Oh, yeah, and he's an author. So we're going to be talking to Killian about him, what he does, what makes him tick, what helps him be resilient when he needs to be. We've then got the book review. And the book review this week is Ashley Vance's biography of Elon Musk. And there's a long story behind why we've chosen that book today. And then we're having a conversation with Karen Weber, hot off the launch of her new book, to hear all about the book, why she wrote it, what inspired her, and what's caused her to maybe need some resilience in the past. Really, really excited. And then we've got some great music across the show, and then we'll wrap it all up with a few tips for the week ahead. So this is The Resilient Show. I'm your host, Stu Darling, and the title of today's show is Stepping Up. And Stepping Up is dedicated to that JCB driver, the digger driver who was having a quiet day on the banks of the Suez Canal when he was given the nods to go and dig out that big ship, the Ever Given, who had just slightly drifted into the banks of the river. But we'll talk about stepping up after the first track. Now, I cannot promise that this is the only time we're going to hit some sort of cheesy joke for Easter, because it's Good Friday, it's Easter weekend. Happy Easter to all of you. But here we go with the first track of the day and a little nod to hopefully some Easter eggs on Sunday.
Tonight we'll put all of the things aside.
There we go, the Pointer Sisters, and as I say, I cannot promise that that will be the only Easter egg joke, but I hope you got up and had a boogie. Remember, it's Friday morning, and Friday morning is the time that we get up and we dance around the kitchen. Get that energy up, get some excitement going, and look, I know for a lot of us, it's a holiday today. Woo! But that just means we can get up early and we can have even more time to ourselves. So get up, dance around. And yeah, that's probably the subtlest song we're going to be playing today. So hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had a boogie. Now, stepping up. I did have a little chuckle to myself when all of this started kicking off. Can you imagine, a JCB driver, a digger driver who is in the desert, doing his thing, digging a trench, and he gets a phone call. He looks at his phone thinking, what? And he's told to move across to the Suez Canal and start digging out the bow of a big ship. Did you see the size of the ship? It's like, it's taller than the Sky Tower in Auckland. That's how big this thing was. And it got itself wedged in a bank of sand. So you've got the JCB driver, and he's just go and dig it out. Just dig the bow of the boat out. And he's looking at it thinking, yeah, this is a bit of a job. Oh, and just while you're digging it out, just keep in mind that for every day, for every hour that you're not getting it dug out and it's not flowing, it's stuck. It's completely closed the Suez Canal, and that means that you're responsible for the whole of global finance. Because if we can't move that, oil's going to go up, people aren't going to get the stuff, prices are going to go up. So no pressure, just get on with it, no pressure. Wow. Now that is stepping up. But there's two different sides to stepping up, isn't there? Because there's the stepping up when you're told to, and you're not really given a choice. But then there's also the stepping up where you think, do you know what? This just needs to be done. Have you been there? Have you ever been given a new job and told, well, just get on with it. You can do this. And you're sitting there thinking, I can do what? I have not got the first clue how to do this. Or have you ever seen something going on? You're maybe in the street, or if you're younger and you're in the schoolyard, in the playground, and you see something kicking off, and you think, I'm just going to have to step in and deal with this. I'm going to have to step up, and I really don't know what to do, but I've just got to do it. And at the back end of the show, I'll give you a few pointers as to how we can all step up and we can make it easy. Because if we've got a plan, if we've got some 5 steps that we can use to go, hey, if I've got to step up, then these are the things that I've got to do. It makes it so much easier. But just think, I've said before, I tell stories about my experience. And I hope they're fun. I hope you gain something from them. But the one thing that I love all of our listeners to gain from these random stories that I pluck out of my history is that you reflect on your own life. You reflect on times for today that you've stepped up and realised, do you know what? I've done this before. I can do this again. I can step up. I can do all of this stuff. So why not do it? Because remember, we're all unique. We were put here for a reason. Our uniqueness is what our part of this planet is in the short time we have. So my stories are unique to me. The way I dealt with them are unique to me. And your stories, your experiences are unique to you. So when have you stepped up? Get in touch. Drop me an email or drop me a message. Stu@studarling.com. Remember, it's the thick soup, not the name, STEW. Stu@studarling.com. Get in touch. Tell me how you've stepped up and how it felt. And how it felt when you'd actually done it. I remember years ago, I was in the desert. Not in a JCB, digging out a big boat that was stuck. I was in the desert. I was in Iraq, and I had just commanded one of my soldiers to head north into one of the small operating bases, and that was an operating base that got mortared fairly frequently. It was under fire by our enemy fairly frequently, and but we were undermanned. I needed someone to head up into that forward operating base and support operations, and he was the man. And I knew he was capable. I knew he could do it. He'd been trained. He was up to it. I stepped outside of my headquarters, and there he was in tears, crying his eyes out because he didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to step up. And, it wasn't pretty, because when you work in the desert, you're covered in dust. And there were tear stains down his face through that dust. There was snot. It was not pretty. And I had to talk him up. I had to take him through the steps of stepping up. And this was one of those occasions where he didn't have a choice. He had been commanded by me to go and do what needed to be done. And we talked through the steps of stepping up. And by the end of it, there were less tears. By the end of it, there was a little bit of spark back in his life. And he went off to that forward operating base. I visited a few days later, and he'd found his mojo. He was commanding operations again as a junior NCO, commanding operations and bringing on the younger ones in the team. That's the joy of stepping up, because once we've done it, we realise that sometimes it's not so tough and we can get on with it. So when have you stepped up? Have a think about it. There will be times in your life when you've stepped up, even if it's just a tiny bit. Have you stepped into an argument? Have you stepped up with your beliefs and said, actually, I disagree with that? Have you stepped up with your morals and your values and made a difference in the world, or just inside yourself because you've believed in yourself a little bit more? And we'll talk about that at the back end of the show. But now, after this next track, I'm going to introduce Killian Hearns, as I say, the owner of Results Coaching and Leadership Coach. So we're going to talk to Killian. But before then, it is Easter weekend, and it's time to sort of just take a little pause and realise what Easter is. For some of us, it's Easter eggs. It's a long weekend. For some of us, it is the celebration of the resilience, the stepping up that Jesus showed over the sad events of Good Friday, leading to the events of his rising again from the grave. So we're not going to go all religious, but we are going to play a song that relates to the story of Judas and Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. You're never going to believe where this comes from, but yep, this actually comes from, and we're going to try and use the laptop, a little bit of new technology, and the track we are going to play is a little bit of U2. There you go, bit of U2 from the album Achtung Baby. And yeah, well, there's the story behind or one of the stories behind the song "Until the End of the World." I think it also had something to do with the Edge and Bono falling out about something, but yeah, that's the story. One of the stories was that they were deciding whether to give up U2 and actually go into the priesthood. Anyway, enough of that. I would love to welcome our first guest for today, author of the book "Lead Yourself First," and business owner and Iron Man, and yeah, well, let's find out from him all about what he is about. So, welcoming to the show right now, Killian, how are you?
I'm great, Stu. I'm great. Thanks a million for having me along.
Hey, no problem at all. I love our conversations, and to be able to have a conversation on Arrow FM 92.7 in the Wairarapa and www.arrowfm.co.nz for anyone who's listening on or off planet Earth. Why shouldn't we share some of the daft conversations we have? So, who are you? Who is Killian Hearns?
I suppose, well, in a nutshell, I am a leadership and performance coach, and I work with organizations, with teams, and with individuals. And I suppose, if I were to summarize it, I help raise the capability of leadership and performance in organizations and even in people's personal life, because leadership spans much more than organization. And even in our families.
So let's dive into that. I think, yeah, that's a really, really interesting concept, that too often we talk about leadership and we think that leadership is a military thing, or leadership is a business thing, or leadership is something that is done to us. So how do you get leadership out of, a mum or a dad, or how do you bring leadership into that personal space rather than in the bigger corporate or business area?
So I believe that we're all capable of being leaders, and there's an old saying that you need followers to be a leader. I don't necessarily agree with that, because people tend to follow people, not because of their role or their title, and we've all got an opportunity to make a difference in the world. And even if that difference is just raising and growing better human beings, I mean, that's demonstrating leadership right there.
Growing better human beings. I think that's something that when I do workshops, I ask very early on, right, who thinks they're a leader? Who is a leader? And maybe one or two hands go up, and then I ask if anyone's a parent. And or a sister or a brother, and all of a sudden the hands start crawling up. They never shoot up, but they crawl up. So it really is important to recognise that leadership is something that happens to all of us in life. Give us a tip then. If you're a parent suddenly waking up this morning and listening to this thinking, oh, the responsibility I've just got because these two are talking about the fact that I'm a parent and a leader, give us one tip for helping your little ones.
Well, if you think about it, how do we learn leadership? How do we learn leadership in organizations? How do we learn it as parents? The answer is we model it from those who have gone before us.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to demonstrate leadership, or if you want to demonstrate better behaviors, if you want to see better behaviors, then demonstrate those better behaviors. When a child might do something naughty, for example, what would you like the good behavior to be?
Mm-hmm.
And then have a conversation with them about that and reward them more for that better behavior, as opposed to defaulting to punishing them if they do something naughty, for example. And so they'll learn that they get rewarded for better behaviors. And my parents never raised their voice around me, because that doesn't solve problems, and that's a lesson right there.
It's almost flipping it on its head, isn't it? Because often we've been brought up one way, and that's imprinted on us. And we've got to recognise that sometimes the old ways aren't the right ways. I had a really interesting conversation with Liz last night about some of the some of the things that science is telling us these days, and you look at some of the ancient scripts and ancient beliefs and Eastern beliefs, and you go, how the hell did they know that all the way back then? And we've got to relearn some of that. But we dive straight, as we always do, Killian, we dive straight into the meaty stuff. That is not a Kiwi accent, and your name is not a traditional New Zealand name. So how did where did it all start, and how did you land on these shores?
Yeah, good one. So I've been here nearly 15 years, and where it all started was my wife and I, we were engaged at the time. Excuse me. We were living in Dublin, and we had a house in Dublin, and we've still got that house there, and we both had good jobs, and we were doing really, really well. And one day Louise came home and said, look, I'm moving to New Zealand, and you can come if you want.
Yep.
You can see who wears the pants in our family.
That's true leadership, folks. That's true leadership.
So we talked about it, and we applied for the visa, and they said it can take a year before your name is selected out of the pool, because we went in a points thing based on qualifications, and then you've got another year to take it up. And within a month, we got accepted. So then we were like, okay, so we've got 12 months to decide whether or not we're actually going to do this or not. So we decided we'd give it a go. Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Totally.
And we arranged to get married just before we left, a couple of months before we left. So we got all family and friends together, had a big send-off, and used the trip across through Southeast Asia as the honeymoon.
Ah, great, fantastic. And then you landed on these shores, and what did you get up to?
Well, straight away I fell back on what I was doing back in Dublin, which was software development, and very quickly moved into project management and then project governance. And I even though I deep dived and invested a lot of time in those areas, after a while, 3 or 4 years, I just felt that it really wasn't my thing. It wasn't my calling. I wasn't lit up by it, if you know what I mean. And I the stars started to align, and I just started to chat to a couple of people about things. And one of the people that I chatted with was a lady by the name of Moira Mallon, who's down in Christchurch. And Moira is a terrific coach, and I didn't know she was a coach at the time, and we were just having chats over coffee because Moira is originally from Ireland herself. And she just had an incredible ability of asking all those right questions that helped me explore more of myself. And in a very gentle way, she didn't allow my defense mechanism of the humor, when you get a little bit too close, I'd make a joke and try to move on. But she was very gently able to keep pulling me back until I really discovered what was important to me. And people kept bubbling up to the surface every single time. And I didn't know that coaching was a profession. I had no clue whatsoever. I mean, I'd been on leadership training courses and things like that, but I had no idea that this was a full-time thing.
It was a thing, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So launched into it, went off, got some qualifications, and just quit my role as the governance manager of a bank, and just jumped right in and started telling everyone I was a coach, which didn't help because
they didn't know what a coach was.
Exactly. And I was just learning, So after about 6 months, I had to go back and get some contract work, part-time contract work, and I started to build a business, I suppose, properly from there.
So tell me, how did it feel? Because the title of today's show is Stepping Up. And when you make a big decision, that's based in how you provide for your family by giving up a gig and going after your passion. How did that feel?
Scary as hell. I'll be honest with you. I was absolutely petrified because, I had a stable job, good job, felt pretty confident in that role, was reasonably well known around Wellington in the project management space. So that was safety, that was security. And stepping into this where, I had relatively little professional experience as a coach. And I say professional experience because we all gain experience through our lives that is
Too
helpful
true. Yep.
in these engagements. And so no one knew me as a coach. So it was really, really scary. And I just came home from work one day and it was another frustrating day. And I was given out, and Louise, she's incredible. And she would listen and she's very supportive. And she said, look, why don't you just quit? I mean, you've got your qualifications. You've been talking about this for a while. It really is your passion. I can take on more contracting hours. Why don't you just quit and give it a go?
Wow.
And I thought, you, and I can't say it on radio, but I just thought, no, you've taken away my final crutch, because I've got a mortgage to pay, the kids to look after, bills to pay. And now you're telling me that it's okay to go and do this.
Great.
So once I had Louise's full support, and I always have Louise's full support, but the way she articulated it really helped me get across the line.
Good stuff. And at some point, that led you to becoming an author. And for those of you who are watching the telly, or for those of you who are not watching the telly, I'm actually holding up the book. Oh, they keep changing screens on me. Lead Yourself First. How would you describe Lead Yourself First to someone who has never seen a copy of it before?
Yeah, so this is the book that I needed all those years ago when I was starting off in leadership. It's the book that I would have found and read, because when I started moving into the leadership space, it wasn't the skills, the leadership skills. It wasn't the harder skills or the technical skills of leadership. Creating a vision, understanding values, talking to people, that type of thing. It was the inner stuff that I really struggled with, and I kept going back to these old habits, especially under time of stress. We always go back to what we know under times of stress.
Yep. And
I really found it difficult to get a handle on that stuff. And so as I started to explore more the psychology of things around leadership and professional development, and it's something I've always read and have been interested in, but to look at it with a keen eye in terms of how do I help others. In fact, I was helping myself become a better leader myself. And the first key for me was awareness of the need to change. And that's a pretty obvious concept, but how do you actually create awareness? How do you practically create awareness? And that's through our beliefs, this understanding those things that drive us, our values, our human needs, all these motivators, and to understand the impact and the role that they play in our lives. And if they're not serving us, or if we're not meeting these needs in a resourceful way, how can I change that? How can I change my focus? What can I practically do? And that made up the first part of the book, which is all around that awareness. And how do you develop that growth mindset so that you're constantly growing and learning and developing as a person? The other key part of the book, which is the second part, is around resilience, because making big changes takes resilience. You're gonna get knocked back. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna, and I don't believe in this word, but and what it means normally, but you're gonna fail, right? And to me, that's just learning now.
Yeah,
There's no such thing as failure. There's just learning.
Yeah, I think that's
how do you develop that mindset?
It's a really important definition, isn't it? Yeah, of course we're going to fail, but failure is nothing more than a lesson until we quit. We need to be careful with the definition, but I completely agree with you there. Interesting. I did some work with a client earlier on this week, and they were having struggles with personnel in their business, and they trotted off their values but they didn't realise that that was what they were. There were three things that they said, well, this is my business. It's one, it's two, it's three. And I went, right, awesome. Well, if people aren't aligning to those values, then that's where the rub is. That's where the tension is. And those are the conversations you can have with people, because it's a value-based conversation or values-based conversation rather than a you did this and I didn't like it. And I had a call with the whole company last night. And it's really interesting the way that the dynamic, two people have already left the business because when they were told what the values of the business was, they went, well, that's not for me, I'm done. Well, there you go. When you understand what your values are, it is so empowering. But you're right, it's where's the start point? And that's really what I love about Lead Yourself First. It's a book that anyone can pick up and start with. You don't have to be a corporate leader. You don't have to be a general of armies to do it. You can just be someone who is looking for that next step and the access into it.
Yeah, exactly right. It's for anybody. It's for anybody. And even just to expand on your point about values, I mean, if I have very clear values about what it means to be a parent or to work in a community, I can bring that forward. And our values are fantastic because they help us, they give us a real clear, I suppose, guiding compass for the decisions that we make in life.
Beautiful. So, the book's for anyone. So where can anyone get a copy of it? If people have liked hearing your voice, those dulcet Irish tones, and they want to get hold of you, they want to learn more about results coaching and what you do with businesses and individuals, but if they want to get hold of a copy of the book, where do they go? Where can they find you?
So you can find the book in Unity Books. They're on Willis Street. Or
that's in Wellington, New Zealand?
That's in Wellington, New Zealand. Mm-hmm. Or you can pick up a copy from resultscoaching.co.nz.
Awesome. So there you go. Resultscoaching.co.nz is where you can get a copy of First Lead Yourself. Or you can go and get some exercise, walk down into Unity Books, and if you're in Wellington, pick a copy up there. Killian, it has been absolutely great talking to you. I always get a gem when we talk. It is Easter weekend this weekend, and that means that Easter eggs have been in the shop since, I don't know, Halloween. What's your favourite chocolate?
Oh, that's a good question. I do like the caramelly filled stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah, baby. Yeah, get that sugar fix. Okay, yeah, right. So if anyone knows Killian, that's what he's looking for on Sunday morning. Right, you've chosen a song. We're tracking along. You have chosen a song. So introduce the song and tell us why this is it's a belter, by the way. Tell us this is why your song. It's been great talking to you, Killian. Thank you very much. What's your song and why?
Thanks a million, Stu. It's Sally McLennan, and it's by the Pogues. And it always brings me back to those nights out with my friends back in Ireland. They would play this song in the pub, and just everyone would light up. And as soon as your listeners start hearing the song, you'll know why. It is a belter.
It's a belter. Okay, so here it is, a little bit of the Pogues on Arrow FM.
Our man again, the pub where I was born. He played it from the night time to the peaceful early morn. He soothed the souls of psychos and the men who had the horn, and they all looked very happy in the morning. But Jimmy didn't like his place in this world of ours, where the other man brought stormers next and he had too many pairs. So I sad to see the grieving of the people that I'm leaving, and he took the road for God knows in the morning. We walked him to the station in the rain. We kissed him as we put him on the train, and we sang him a song of times long gone. Now we knew that we'd be seeing him again. Sad to say, I must be on my way, so buy me beer or whiskey cause I'm going far away. I'd like to think I'll be returning when I can to the greatest little boozer and to Sally he came back home, he was surprised that they were gone. He asked me all the details of the train that they went on. Some people they are scared to cook, but Jimmy drank until he choked. Took the road for heaven in the morning. We walked into the station in the rain, and we kissed him as we put him on the train. And we sang him a song of times long gone, though we knew that we'd be seeing him again. Sad to say, I must be on my way, so buy me beer or whiskey, cause I'm gone far away. I'd like to think I'll be returning when I can, to the greatest little boozer and to Sally McLennan.
Oh, okay, that finished rather quickly. That was a little bit of the Pogues, and wasn't that great? Killian, you know, as a coach myself, when you get talking to folks, you think, is there anything I can learn? Of course there is. We can always learn, and I always learn when I have a conversation with Killian about leadership and resilience. And as he said, resultscoaching.co.nz if you want to get yourself a copy of First Lead Yourself. Absolutely great introduction to leadership. Or if you are in Wellington in New Zealand, head into Unity Books on Willis Street where you can pick up a copy there. Do it. Step up, as we talk about today. So, book review time. The book review, or the book that we are reviewing today, is Ashley Vance's book, Elon Musk, which it took me a long time to read it. It took me a long time to sort of figure out what I thought about Elon Musk. And yeah, I'm quite sure he really doesn't care what I think about him, and that's exactly the way we should all lead our lives. As long as we act with kindness and are useful, we shouldn't worry about what other people think about us. But it took me a long while to get to reading about Musk and Tesla and SpaceX and the Boring Company and Hyperloop and all the rest of it. But I did, in the end, pick up a copy of the eponymous book, Elon Musk. What a great read. And a great read not just because it gives us an insight into the man, Elon Musk, but it also gives us an insight into what we need to be thinking about for the future of our planet. I've also listened to a few podcasts where Elon Musk has been interviewed. Find them. It's a really, really interesting view of life. And it's one that I'm more and more becoming aligned to. There are some big, big, difficult questions out there that we need to face on planet Earth, that we need to face about our future on planet Earth and potentially in the stars. And the more difficult, the more challenging the question we ask, the better the response we're going to get. And I'm not saying that we can just go and ask someone the answer. There are some really wise people out there who understand concepts far greater than I do, but there are even concepts out there that we don't understand. And that's the way that Musk's brain seems to work. Ask those really, really challenging questions. And Mars by 2024, the speed at which SpaceX has developed returning rocket boosters, the speed at which they're going through the serial number of Starship in order to understand how to break out of the Earth's gravity, get into space, and begin that journey to the stars. But even Musk isn't saying that Mars is for everyone. He's saying that this is the next step of human adventure, of human exploration. It's going to take us 6 months to get to Mars. When you get to Mars, you're stuck there for 2 years. People might die. This isn't going to be for everyone. But the concept of adventure is something that is deeply inbuilt to us human beings. If it wasn't, and I've said this before, we would still be sitting in a cave, licking water off the walls. But we didn't. We stepped outside. We looked round the next corner. We asked what was over that piece of water, what was over that ocean, and we began to colonize the world. And then in the 60s, off we went to the moon. And I think that gave us all a little bit of a fright, and we haven't been beyond near-Earth orbit since then. Musk is talking about something different. He's talking about the gnarly issues that face this, so not so much this planet, that face the human race on this planet. We've got to figure that out, and we figure that out by asking the difficult questions. So, Ashley Vance spent a long, long time trying to get her first interview with Musk. And then, he began to open up, and it's quite interesting. There are footnotes throughout the book that Musk used in order to clarify the points that Ashley Vance had written. So not only do you get a biography of Musk, you also get a little glimpse into the way his brain works. So pick it up. Head over to the library, or when you're in Unity Books in Wellington, picking up your copy of First Lead Yourself. Grab a copy of Elon Musk as well. Have a read. Have a think about the world. I read a book a good few years ago that spoke about how the future of this planet and the future of the human race on this planet is not about getting to the top of this mountain. It's about understanding what the next mountain needs to look like and beginning to build it. That's what Musk's doing. That's what he talks about in his book. So, really, before we finish up with Musk, I'm going to play a track that you might be able to guess what it is. It is the track that still plays on the Tesla Roadster that is gunning its way to Mars, if it's not already there, that was launched on the top of the Falcon Heavy rocket. So we're going to play that track, and when we come back, we will be talking to Karen Weber, another author, fresh off the launch of her book. So really, really excited to introduce Karen to Arrow FM listeners, and we'll have that conversation with her after we have played this track here.
Didn't know what time it was, the lights were low. I leaned back on my radio. Some cat was laying down some rock and roll, that is all he said. Then the loud sound, it seemed to fade. Came back like a slow voice on a wave of fade. That was no DJ, that was hazy cosmic jive. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He's told us not to blow it, 'cause he knows it's all worthwhile. He told me, let the children use it, let the children use it, let all the children do get. Look out your window, I can see his light. If we can sparkle, he may land tonight. Don't tell your papa, or he'll get us locked up in fight. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. There's a starman to blow it, 'cause he knows it's all worthwhile. He told me, let the children lose it, let the children use it, let all the children
So you all guessed it, I assume. That was Starman by David Bowie. That, as I say, is the song that is making its way to Mars on board the Tesla Roadster. Now, we are struggling to get hold of Karen this morning. So that's not a problem. I'm quite sure she's just getting herself sorted out. So what we're going to do is we're going to bounce forward and we're going to talk about we're going to talk about stepping up and the 5 steps to stepping up. And then we will try and get Karen back on the show as we head towards 9 o'clock. So that's no big deal, he said, with mild panic in his voice. So stepping up, the 5 ways that we can actually step up. What can we do in order to, raise our game? Whether that's raising our game because someone has asked us to, told us to, or whether it's because we've seen something in our lives or in the environment in which we live that says, I need to step in here. My values and my morals are saying I have got to step in and do something about the situation that is occurring right now. So what do? Well, in order to step up, you've actually got to get up. You've got to get up and realise that you're unique and you have your values in that situation. So you've actually got to get up and say, hey, I am me. I am unique and I was put here. And the here is in that moment. The moment in which you find yourself when someone says, I need you too, or when you see that environment changing and you were put right there, right that second, it was you. So you got to get up and say, this is my time. This is my time and I'm going to step up and I'm going to make this happen. And then you've got to show up. And that's not a showing up of, hey, I'm here. It's a showing up. It's a dynamic act. I'm showing up. I am here. I am going to make this work. This is me. These are my values. This is what I'm standing for. And this is why I'm stepping in. Or this is why I have been asked to step in. It's all about believing in you. Believing in yourself. That I can do this. And we can only do that if we show up as our true selves. If we try and do it as someone else. Or if we try and do it the way that we think someone might like us to do it, it ain't going to happen. I was having a conversation with someone yesterday who was asked about the coaching program that they're on. Not one of mine, another one. They were asked about the coaching program they were on. And they said their immediate reaction was, well, I'm happy to talk about my coaching program, but there's someone in this room who might not agree with the sort of coaching that I'm receiving. Therefore, I'm going to change the way I talk about it. Well, there's a massive red flag. There's a stop. Because straight away, they weren't being themselves. They were saying, I've taken away my right to be me in order to keep someone happy. So we've got to step up, and we've got to step up and say, show up, we've got to show up and say, right, no, this is me, and this is the me I'm going to be with my values. So we've got to get up and say, yeah, this is my time, but we've got to show up as ourselves in order to make that happen. Hope that makes sense. And then the other thing we've got to do is we've got to keep going. This stuff doesn't just happen, unfortunately. When you're thrown in at the deep end and told just to get on with this and make sure that it all happens the way it's meant to, well, often that's not the way it works. We need some tenacity. We need the tenacity to say, right, I'm just going to keep going at this. I'm just going to keep working this through, and it will stop when it stops. It will be done when we're ready. And until then, I just got to keep going. I just got to keep it tracking and make sure that I make this work. So that's number 3. So we got to get up, we got to show up, and we got to keep going. And sometimes one of the best ways to actually do that is to look back. Look back at how far we've actually come. When you start, look back to that last time that you were, that you did show resilience, that you did step up, and think, wow, I've done it so differently to the way I did it last time. I've learnt so much since the last time I did it. So don't be afraid of looking back, because it's only sometimes through looking back that we actually see how far we've come. And that's how we grow. So get up, show up, have the tenacity to keep going, and then take a look back, take a stop, look back and see how far you've come. And if you do those 4 steps, then number 5 becomes a little bit easier. Believe. Believe that the person that asked you to step up, even if you didn't believe in yourself, they did. They believed that you were ready for that role. You were ready to step up and take up the mantle of that challenge. Or if it was something that you stepped into, an event, an occurrence that you stepped into, believe that you were in that place. There is no such thing as coincidence in life. I believe that more and more every day when I see what's going on in the world. There is no such thing as coincidence. We are put here for a reason. We are put in those moments for a reason. Believe that whoever you believe is the greater being, or if you believe in the greater being, if you believe in the universe, if you believe in God, if you believe in a big pink monkey, I don't know, but whatever it, I don't know where that came from, a big pink monkey called Percy. Believe that you were put in the right place at the right time, and God, the universe, has got your back in order to help you grow through it. So those are the 5 steps to stepping up. Get up, show up as yourself, keep going through the hard yards, look back to see how far you've come, and believe that you are the right person. You were given that role, you were put in that position. Believe that you can see it through, and you will. That's what stepping up is all about. And while I try and get hold of Karen, or try and figure out what we're going to talk about for the rest of the show, I'm going to try and get hold of Karen. But until then, do you know what? Once you realise that you can step up, this is how you feel.
To you, don't waste your time.